Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. The next 10 minutes are inspired by a training partner and one of my kids. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the engine. I have a wide variety of jiu-jitsu training partners. That's one of the things I love. I love the most about the sport. It's incredibly intellectual if you know what you're doing. And it may not seem that way from the outside, but anyone who's done it at a high level realizes how intellectually taxing it is. And I love that. But it's also this kind of force sport where you're wrestling with people and grappling and again, like very much like wrestling, either in high school or on national or international stage. You have to have this brute force and this power and ability. And as such, you get this incredible mix of people. And one of my training partners that I've had for over 10 years, this guy Marty, he really blows me away. Now, Marty is a parole officer and has a very real and dangerous job, but is also one of the most well-read people I know. And and I can't get enough of talking to him. It's wonderful. We have conversations about entropy and relativism and all kinds of things. I mean, it spans everything. So Marty the other day was chatting with me about a couple different concepts, and we're not able to train right now, but we met up and we're having a couple beers, and he said something to me that was very interesting. He said, "Well, this beer is really just a distraction." And I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean?" He was like, "Well, I drink beer for a distraction." And for me, that's a really dark thing to say because I spend a lot of time in my life being engaged with my life. I I engage with my kids, I engage with my wife. I don't like the idea that we're just one step away from checking out, which is, I think, a lot of times what people think marriage is and family life is. You start drinking and you just avoid the reality of your life. You don't invest in your kids or your relationship. It's just a very dark concept, and I think it's a very prevalent one that it's kind of you just disengage. And I think Marty got that because I was like, oh my God, what are you disengaging from? And he was very quick to say, no, 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 I'm not distracting myself from my family. I'm not distracting. It's not that he doesn't love his family. He very much does. His wife and his kids. He was saying we all distract ourselves. All of this is just a distraction. And so I started laughing because I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. I say, okay, well, a distraction from what? And he said, well, the only thing that actually bothers you, that you're going to die. It's like, Marty, come on. Distraction from the fact I'm going to die. That's lame. And I was like, what about all the other things you do that are engaging? Like, you're not just distracting yourself when you go to work and do something good. I'm not just distracting myself from when I'm engaged with my students. He's like, you're not? Are you thinking about death when you're doing that? I said, no. He said, well, what if you stopped doing everything? What if you stopped training? What if you stopped enjoying your family? What if you stopped, doing all of these different things? What would you ultimately come down to? Well, I'd probably become a nutcase in my head and ultimately contemplate life and death. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, Marty, you got me. You're right. But how horrible is that? And I couldn't shake it. I was so bothered the rest of the day because, one, Marty tagged me. I had not thought of that concept before. I was initially against it, and he got me. I do really believe that what I call engagement is really just distracting my overactive brain from contemplating the fact that it's going to somehow cease to exist soon. And if you sit around thinking about death, you freak yourself out. But if you're doing something meaningful, it's like time stops. You don't worry about time. You don't worry about tomorrow. You worry only about what you're doing right now. That's the nature of engagement, real engagement in my life and most people's lives. When people get into things and they're doing the thing they should be doing, they don't think about anything. And it's wonderful. And I think that, again, is just a distraction. And I was bothered by this because I started thinking about everything in my life. I was like, that's just a distraction. That's just a distraction. That's just a distraction. It's all just this silly little game of distractions. And I was playing with one of my kids. And my kids get very fixated on things. I can relate. It happens. So I was playing with one of my kids, and they got fixated on I think it was like the water table. You know, it's been hot, and I have little kids, and they like playing in water and wouldn't let it go. And I managed to deflect and distract them with something else, right? Instead of playing with the water table, let's play with this truck over here, or let's go, do chalk drawings, whatever it is. And I shied away from doing, hey, let's go play with an iPad, or let's go play with a TV, or watch a TV show, or play a video game or something. My wife and I really try to avoid doing that because it's, one, it's really, really easy, but two, it's not that great. It's like just eating sugary stuff all day long. And I think people's expectations become that they have this sugary type of entertainment at every point. And now when our kids are bored sometimes, the second they're bored, the second they don't have a structured activity, they say, can I have my iPad? And we say, no, go find a way to entertain yourself, build Legos, whatever it is. But I realized what I was doing. I was just distracting my son from what he was fixated on and bothered by with something else. I was like, well, isn't that funny, Marty? Isn't that funny? Here I am just distracting my kid. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's not fair to say all distractions are made equally. And I stopped almost dead and realized, oh my God, there it was. So here's the thing. We need to distract ourselves from the idea that we're ultimately going to die. If we don't find engagement, if we don't find meaning, we're just going to wither away. But not all distractions, in my mind, are equally valued. What I mean by that is you can distract yourself from death by drinking yourself into oblivion and dying. That's what alcoholics do. Okay, and they distract themselves from the life and death struggles and they're just gone. They're gone. Boom. Or you could distract yourself like Mother Teresa and devote your life to caring for other people. And I know these are two laughably opposite examples, but I'm just using them to make the point that distracting yourself from death with something that enriches other people's lives, that helps other people, maybe offers a distraction or a guide for them, is different than just distracting yourself with junk. It's different than just eating sugar all day long, like this nasty little habit. And that changed my opinion on what Marty had said. Initially, I was very bothered by the idea that it's all just a distraction and just self-interested in changing my view from the inevitable. But again, I got back to realizing, look, just because it's a distraction doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And if I spend my small, meager existence here distracting myself from the reality of my ultimate coming demise by helping other people, then am I really worried about that? Am I really offended by that? Am I really bothered that if I didn't have teaching and I wasn't helping people, that I'd be sitting around worrying about life and death? No. No. That's what my life is for. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help people. And I get this added bonus of being so engaged with it and so happy to do it that when I am doing it, I don't even think about the fact that this train is going to come to an end soon. So, you need to realize we are self-interested. We are all trying to distract ourselves from the lesser glamorous aspects of life. But that doesn't mean that we have to spend our time distracting ourselves on things that make life worse. And if you're lucky enough to, find something that in fact makes life better for not just you, but for everyone around you. Because as annoying as it is to say I distract myself, I think that would be the most valuable distraction in life. I'm Matt Todd, and this is the engine that drives me. Go out and crush it.